Was it a heavy lift to go to a remote workforce? How did that impact your IT infrastructure? And do you expect these changes will be made permanent?
Thank you, Sri. So this is a very timely question. I want to quickly go back to last year when we had to reprioritize the criticality of Defian's user VPN solution. Not that we didn't have it, but we decided to refocus and invest in the technology to ensure it was highly resilient, highly available. And what do you know, right? It was proven 6 months later where essentially 90+% of our workforce was informed to work remotely over a weekend. And the solution worked, right? We have a few little bumps along the way. Obviously, we have to make decisions around the policy as it relates to routing certain VPN traffic, via split tunneling and whatnot. As we experienced, users have experienced performance issues with bandwidth hungry applications, definitely around the video, and definitely around Zoom and so forth, so on. What we didn't do, and we learned it along the way, is that while the VPN design, was tested extensively and was piloted with several critical teams, critical users, and rolled out to our user population without the hitch, we never really truly tested under the 90% user load that became reality overnight. So that was kind of new to us. Our circuit utilization went up 5-6-fold, essentially overnight. Our internet circuits because of the VPN traffic back to our data centers. I would advise to consider it as something going forward in the future for your projects, for any infrastructure projects, right? Test your failovers, test your capacity to find the weak spots, to be able to address them, not only prior to go live, but to also be prepared for the unexpected. And here we are, right, in this situation. Another aspect of that work for us was, number of users who start working remotely that they pretty much have not done so before, and they expected the same performance as being plugged into the local network in the office, right? And we definitely heard the voices from the users that were manipulating large files, downloading, uploading content, and so forth, so on. And that's where the education aspect came. This is the new normal, and frankly, you cannot expect the same performance being on the VPN, on the wireless, on the shared ISP bandwidth in your neighborhood, with hundreds of other people working remotely. So it was, user experience was impacted a little bit. So there was that, kind of an education period. And that took actually a few weeks, several weeks for our users to kind of realize that this is as good as it can get. Obviously, we're still looking to optimize the traffic and then provide some relief, via routing and whatnot. But it's not going to be exactly the same as it's in the office. Bottom line, the user experience. Will these changes be permanent? Yes, I do believe they will be. Frankly, I think they are by now. But one of the items was we revisited our strategy of endpoints. It's great that we have the cloud services available anywhere from the internet. You can be at the airport, you can be in a cafe, you can be in a plane, whatnot. But you want to make sure that endpoints are still benefiting from the security solutions that are deployed across the enterprise. So that caused us to pull in some of our security projects planned for 2021 into this year. As an example, would be kind of the always-on security, right? So it doesn't matter, if you're whatever your endpoint is, you want to tunnel the traffic accordingly via the solution, or at least at minimum ensure that you enforce VPN any time that endpoint needs to connect to internet-based service. You want to make sure there's this additional layer of protection that traffic is not flowing freely and is protected. Also, the amount of work that went into optimizing the user experience resulted in a well-thought-out configuration changes. This investment is already done, so those changes are here to stay. It probably will be expanded upon going forward. Also, any purchases that were the direct result of the need, i.e. whether it was infrastructure or licenses, those purchases will remain, they will stay here. So that's money spent, and those changes have been already put in place, and we can just expand on it, potentially looking to eliminate other solutions that we're able to actually leverage on new purchases against. One thing I can see may scale down, wind down is We had to hire additional monitoring services at the beginning. As we slowly start going back to the office, those monitoring services may no longer be necessary. Also, additional help to support us, to support our help desk. 24/7, these users were calling in the first initial stages for 2-3 months to get guidance, to get help with connectivity, to get help with performance. Those services may also be scaled down, as well as our internet bandwidth circuits. We're able to scale down also as we start rolling our staff back into office over time. And lastly, I want to say that some of these initiatives actually were planned or at least in flight, and I can probably speak for a lot of us on this panel that this just accelerated those projects.
Thank you. We're seeing lots of great comments coming in here. And Mahmoud says, I'm a cybersecurity student from Wisconsin. I'm loving this talk. It's great to see and hear from such great professionals. Thank you for organizing this program, Mahmoud, and everyone else. Please hit share right now on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook so that everyone can benefit from this. Even if they're not watching this live, they can watch it later. Just find the Radware social media channel and you'll be able to get the show and they can watch it afterwards if they can't watch it right now. Just want to ask Jack about organizations that had strong disaster preparedness plans and an agile IT infrastructure in place fared better than those that did not. Can you talk a little bit about how you are making sure that you're going to be future-proof? In other words, how are you planning for future disruptions, because they will surely take place?
Absolutely, yeah. So it certainly did cause us to rethink some of the items. For example, some changes that were introduced were aha moment for our DR planners, right? Whether it was in a good or bad sense. There were some things that they didn't think about or overthought and realized that this is not necessary. It did bring up items that I don't want to say they were never taught before, but the type and the duration of the disaster, right? So here we are, almost 7 months working remotely, and this new normal, and it is new normal, right? It's not a disaster per se, but we kind of operating in that model. One thing I want to focus on is outside of the technology aspect that we realize is that there is fatigue. There's mental fatigue. There's Zoom fatigue. There's disconnect from the team members, the physical connection, right? Some people operate very well under. Introverts, extroverts are handling the situation a little bit differently. So the well-being is a very important part of the planning that needs to be addressed going forward. So that's one of the things that we realized. We're not recovering from a disaster. We're operating in one, and I know it might be too strong of a word, but it is what it is. And all of us, I think, on this panel have been working from home for some time now. So while working remote, we still need to continue supporting our business units, our clients, projects, initiatives, daily operations. Business as usual, frankly, at least in our sector. It definitely led to adjusting our schedules for physical delivery of hardware or software or infrastructure, whatever that might be, because of the lack of mobility at initial stages of this pandemic, and also the site access restrictions, which varied by city and county and state and even country. It also raised questions with our suppliers, right? When we found out quickly that some of the hardware deliveries were delayed because of the restrictions imposed by the government and shutdowns, so forth. We start asking those questions. What is your plan B? What is your plan C? Because now we have to kind of shift our planning, our spend, our resources. But in the end, we still have to deliver a solution. We still have to support the business. We still have to operate as usual as it can get in this environment. This also provided deeper visibility to the executive team, to the criticality of the network, right? And what it takes to support the network to be, highly available, highly resilient, because basically that's just the nature of our business. We have to make sure the SLAs are still met. So we didn't have an excuse that, it's, we're in a pandemic, so we'll get to it next week. Well, there was an important client meeting that required that, flawless network connectivity, that flawless execution. So that also spurred discussions around, investing in the right areas. Are we investing enough? Were we over-investing? Were we were investing enough, and now just kind of bubbled up, and we have to shift focus onto that. We started also evaluating our on-premise solutions from the perspective of how they performed, right? So are the additional investments necessary for the resiliency, for the performance, for the capacity? Are these solutions candidates for cloud transition, right? To provide that sought after availability around the clock, around the globe, and is it cost effective? One of the initiatives that kind of accelerated a little bit was our migration to O365. It became very apparent that we have to kind of put on the fast track to provide this kind of connectivity and productivity to our employees sooner than expected. Actually, we just wrapped up this project last week, I believe, so we're in a good shape. So we're able to deliver on time and on budget, even during these times. So yes, I mean, there's a lot of lessons learned, and as unforeseen issues arose to the forefront and had us rethink our readiness perspective. It's a little bit different from what it was, let's say, a year ago.
Jack, your thoughts on this redeployment of funding?
Yeah. Yes, we do see that. That allows us to kind of use the momentum, right, to say this is something we're putting off, but given the risk that newly found risk that we have, or the risk that's been out there for a while, we feel like right now this is the time to leverage the momentum, to leverage that interest, to ask for those funds. And we're having good conversations. We've seen some of those funds actually being reallocated throughout this year as it is, and we're staying positive that it's going to continue into 21 as well, as we continue with our secure roadmap, and I'm asking for funds to address pretty important critical items to our business.